house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
Hey, and welcome to Off the Water with Hank Parker. Sarah Beth is not here today, so I promised her I would get that right. Not off the water. Well, I mean, not Hank Parker off the water, but Off the Water with Hank Parker. Hey, today I've got a very, very special guest. One of my favorite people in the whole wide world. I've known him all his entire life, from day one, and he is quite the character. My son, Billy Catfish Parker.
Well, thanks for having me, Dad.
Man, it's about time, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm more thin, but I'm doing good. I'm in the fog of war right now. So this is what Hank Jr. says, I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so you know what I'm up to.
Oh, and you got some high energy chaps.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
They
awesome. I love coming up and spoiling them and then coming back home,
You're good at that.
Yeah, I'm one of the best, right?
You get them rowdy for sure.
Man, how awesome it is. Grandkids are the most wonderful thing in the whole wide world. And, my mom always said if she would have known how great they were, she'd have had them first.
Right.
That is really so true, man. They're awesome. But now you're selling dirt now.
That's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. Yeah, I've worked for National Land Realty as a land broker.
A land broker selling this dirt.
Selling dirt.
How's that coming?
Dirt. What's the saying? You ain't no kind of man if you don't have land.
I like that. So tell me how the dirt business, pretty good?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. There's a big need for it, whether it's agriculture, residential, commercial.
Let's go with recreational.
Right, that's my number one. I love it.
Come on, recreational.
I love it. Speaking of recreational properties, before you got here, I was here a little earlier, and I went out on the farm and called in some turkeys and did some donuts in your field, and that's where the muddy streaks came from in your driveway.
Well, I can pay that back, and you know that now.
Yeah,
you have your own driveway, and I know where you live.
Wow. I probably should have held off on that.
You should have definitely held off on that. I have a phobia over mud, and all my life I have just hated mud. And I would get on these boys that would have mud. Billy, somebody's calling me right in the middle.
It's got to be important.
Podcast, and I'll have to call them back a little later on.
But let me reiterate something there.
This while I'm right here. Let me just knock that off in the silence.
Dad says he has a phobia of mud. I would say that's putting it lightly. Listen, when we were kids, we could get away with a lot. Dad was pretty lenient, being rowdy for boys and stuff. We'd knock a window out, put a dent in the truck. We'll get through it. But if you've got mud on his driveway, he would have you out there in your whitey tighties with a brush and a water hose, scouring it down and getting that mud off the driveway. I mean, that was not going to be acceptable by any means.
And these boys didn't understand that. So Billy gets him a new house. I go up to see him. And as I'm driving down the driveway, I see one patch there where they'd put a water line in, and it had been raining. So I just decided I would ease off the driveway, ride through that mud with my right front tire, and then drive down his driveway. And I made a muddy mess.
Yeah.
And when I drove up, I could see it took his breath, but he said not a word. Not a word.
Not to you, anyway.
Nope. No, he said not a word aloud. I know underneath his breath he had a lot of things. So I go in the house and we're visiting. All of a sudden, Billy's gone. And I'm talking to Laura, my daughter-in-law, my sweet daughter-in-law that Billy married way over his head. So I'm sitting there talking to her, and I said, "Where's Billy?" She said, "I don't know where he ran off to. He's out in his driveway scouring that mud off that I got down the driveway." So now he understands. He's got just as bad a phobia over mud as I do.
I get it, honest. I really do. Yeah. So it was indoctrinated in me. So it's not that I had a choice. It's just I was raised to hate mud.
That's a good thing, too, and I taught you well. That's a good thing. All right, we grew up. It's amazing how I started these kids off following me around in the woods when they're just 3, 4, 5 years old. Wasn't big as a nothing, and we got a lot of memories and a lot of things happened, but I'm going to kind of run through it quick. We grew up we went hunting, we went fishing, we spent lots of times. You always like hunting better than you did fishing. So we tend to put more emphasis on hunting. And then you guys got the go-kart. We started racing go-karts, and we're just sitting here looking through pictures. That's a picture of Billy sitting on a go-kart. That's where it all got started. Before we ever got into NASCAR, and spent every dime I ever saved for my whole entire life. And I'm like the guy now at the AA meeting. I can stand up and say I've been NASCAR free for 12 years. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. NASCAR free. But we got involved in racing. And Billy, I don't know the whole world knows how good a driver you were, but in NASCAR's All-Pro Series and the Late Model Series, you were the man, and it was amazing how many races you won and how well you did. You built your own cars. But then we gravitated after you got hurt. He started racing for Rusty Wallace and got hurt really bad in Chicago. Okay.
We ended in Chicago, but if you remember correctly, because it's just been 20 years, so lots happened. I got hurt in a streetcar wreck.
Oh, I do remember that.
That's what really. I was a passenger in a streetcar, and that's what really that kind of took me out of the play there.
I didn't realize that was where the injury came in. You hit the wall really hard in Chicago.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad. I walked away from that. I mean, every time I hit, it was hard. Let's just be honest about it. I was no friend of equipment. But I walked away from that, and NASCAR did a lot during that time for safety, soft walls and the re-engineering of cars and the structure and all the things that they did. So I walked away from that. But that streetcar, that put me in wreck. That put me in the hospital for quite a while and hit my head pretty hard. So that's what took me out of the racing play.
Well, then when racing ended, I wanted them to join me on my fishing show. They said, "Nah, Dad, we want to hunt. We want a hunting show. We don't want a fishing show." So we started Hank Parker 3D. And then I was the owner of Hank Parker 3D. And I never could get this Catfish over here happy with the decisions I was making. So he decided that we were going to rename the show to Hank Parker Flesh and Blood, and he was going to be the owner.
Well,
yeah.
There's three sides to every story.
Yeah.
His side, my side, and the truth. Okay, so it could fall into that somewhat, but we collaborated on that.
Yeah, collaborated. Now, Billy became the boss man. Dad,
Junior.
Dad, I got this. Dad. Hey, I'm gonna set this hunt up.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. I'm gonna get these outfitters. Dad, I'm gonna line them out. I said, "Billy, the only way you're ever going to know if they're honest is you have to go there."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Nah, Dad, you don't know how to check them out. I got this."
Yeah.
So,
ooh, that was. What's the saying? You bit off more than you could chew.
Well,
buddy, I had a mouthful and I could not chew it for anything. It was tough.
Man alive. The outfitters will tell stories, Billy.
Well, I think it's perception, right? But it's kind of like a hunt went on with my brother Ben. We was in Florida and it was covered with hogs, and he had talked about this hunt for weeks, and we went down there and went hunting, and we didn't see a thing. We hunted for 3 or 4 days, dark to dark, and didn't see a thing. And then on the last evening, the last 10 minutes of light, we saw a hog way out in the field, and Ben took a couple of rounds and knocked it down, and we got to it, and he told me, I've been telling you, man, this is the greatest hunt of your life, And it did end up being great because of that moment. But, we were just 10 minutes away from not, just a big goose egg the whole weekend. So it's perception.
Yeah, I'd go hunting these places. Billy would tell me, saying, "Dad, hey, we're going up here, and this guy has really been working hard. He's got these places very special. He's put up the stand. Hadn't anybody been in them all year, we'll be the first people to set it. I might go up there, and there'd be mud going up the ladder.
Cigarette butts.
There'd be cigarette butts all over the ground. There'd be Coke cans, And I said, "Hey, Billy, I think." And he'd come back mad as fire. These outfitters will tell stories, man. It was crazy.
And Dad would say, "You got to go to know." And that's where I it took a little while, but I picked up. I figured out what you meant.
But we had a lot of fun. We did. We had a lot of fun in NASCAR. People say, "Well, how'd you do in NASCAR?" I said, "Well, really and truly, I made $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
They said, how'd you make $2 million? I thought you lost a lot of money in NASCAR. I said, no, I made $2 million. We had $9 million worth of fun. I didn't spend but $7.
I mean, that's simple math.
Oh,
It was a machine, to say the least.
you can't burn money as fast as you can spend it.
But man, we were laser focused, and we had a goal in mind, and we were all together, and we were achieving things and building cars and making memories. And man, we were in the zone, wasn't we?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, time in life, everything about life and business is timing. And I was just a step late in the NASCAR deal.
Yeah.
Just a step late. If I'd have got in the year before, there's no telling what would have happened. But I really do honestly believe that God's in control of our lives. And there were so many things that looked so promising, and then the door would shut, and the door would shut, and the door would shut. And we just couldn't get beyond that. Now I look at where you are now. I look at where Hank Jr. is now. I look at where your families are. I look where I am. And I honestly believe that NASCAR idea that we had, that we pursued so hard, was not God's plan for us. I think he shut those doors, and I think you're right where you need to be, selling dirt, raising babies. I think Hank Jr. up at Snowbird, working at camp and raising babies. I think everybody's right where God intended us to be.
Yeah, it is. Life is good, and you don't know it. You don't know what you don't know. But if you sit back and you have faith, it's funny where you land, and you're here on the most special place on earth, the farm. You know, this dirt right here it's magical. This is where we cut our teeth. This is where we learned about everything we know in nature. This is where you took us, and we were baptized in the woods here. I mean, basically and you're here now, and it's great. I mean, where else would you want to be?
A lot of memories. I had timber cut here a couple of years ago, and I told the forester, the guys that were cutting the timber, I said, I'm going to put some ribbons around these trees that I don't want cut. So I wrapped tape around the trees that I didn't want to cut, survey tape. And so they said, man, that's aggravating to leave that tree there. Well, what's so special? That tree needs to go, really. I said, no. That tree, you can't mess with that tree. So I said, that's the tree Hank Parker Jr. killed his first deer. When he was sitting by himself, he climbed that tree, and I said, do not cut that tree. Well, this tree over here at the edge of this house, I said, no. That's where my son Billy sat when he killed his first turkey. Do not cut that tree. That's sacred ground, boys.
It's a special place. And then there's another tree that you didn't have cut that you probably won't mention unless I bring it up. It was a young tree at the time, and there was a lot of switches pulled off of that tree. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have pulled a few more.
Yeah.
I can tell you what, you got a lot of spankings when you was a kid, but you didn't get enough.
I didn't get enough, man. But you talk about where we're at now and the whole NASCAR thing. But I listened to your podcast the other week, with about the high school fishing, and I thought, it brought me back to my time with Hank Jr. when we were growing up and we were in the racing. Man, to be young and have a passion. And for someone to help kind of pave that way, which that was you for us, kids, we can find a lot of trouble. We can find a lot of things to get in. But when you have a passion and you have the desire to be a part of something, and that's what racing was for us, to kind of probably should have started with that, but that kept us laser focused, and it kept us, working towards our goal. And we were in the shop working on cars.
Well, the one thing that I noticed real quick is you and Hank Jr. both had an incredible work ethic. You would work. And I think all kids have that nature if they find something they're passionate about. That's the problem.
Yep.
It's hard to get kids passionate about something. There's so many opportunities today, and with all the cell phone and the communication and Facebook and all the stuff, it's just hard to get that point zeroed in. And I love these kids that are in the fishing. They got a lot of challenges, and we're going to try to help them figure out some ways to raise some money to overcome some of those obstacles. But there's a whole lot involved, and the whole racing deal. And I go back, And I honestly spent all the money I had.
And then some.
Yeah. I really went through my entire life savings. I had done really well as a fisherman. We got into fishing television at the right time. Things were good. And I went through every dime that I saved. And I remember Hank Jr. coming into my office, and we were trying to get the United States Marine Corps for a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, nobody had ever had the Marine Corps or any other military, United States military active service in a full sponsorship. Now, there had been certain races like on Memorial Day and some of the Veterans Days that there would be a single race, but nobody had ever had a full 1-year sponsorship from the military. So we were trying to get the Marine Corps, and Hank Jr. came in and at my desk at my office at the race shop, and he said, "Dad, how's that looking?" I said, "Well, right now we're just kind of waiting to see what their response is, but we sure need them to come on board." And he stopped for a minute and he said, "If they don't come on board, you're going to lose everything you've ever worked for your whole life." And I said, no, I'm not. He said, "Really?" I said, "No, I will have spent everything I've ever worked for my whole life. I wouldn't redo it. I spent all the money I ever had, and we've struggled to recover. We have recovered, but it's been a struggle. But I did it for all the right reasons, and the memories and the way it shaped our lives, and we got to work together, travel together, and we did the same thing in the hunting business. So I look at it as children are lifetime partnerships. I hear guys say, "I'm going to tell you what, I put mine through college, I'm done." They're on their own. I'm not. I'm never going to be done as long as I'm alive. I'm committed all the time, in every aspect. If they need me, I'm there. And to me, that's the most important thing. And that's the way we rock.
Yeah, we've had a tight bond.
And it's a way I think it should be. I wouldn't, there's no amount of money, there's nothing that I would ever take for the relationship that we built over the years. And we did it all through all kinds of things, whether it was in the outdoors. I used to make them come down here in the off season. We loved to deer hunt, but we'd come in off season and pick up rocks out of the food plots.
Yeah, we did a lot of good stuff, just improving the farm, whether it's food plots or fencing or tree stand work, just making improvements.
How about spreading some Melagonite?
You idiots. You don't even go there. You just leave it
let's
be.
talk
No,
about
let's
that.
talk.
Let's talk about
He
that.
talks about our bond being tight. It almost was broken at one time.
Let's talk about that. We put stuff.
We were growing food plots, and as soon as the green shoot would come out of the ground, year after year, the deer would just nip it to the bud. It would just destroy it. We were so frustrated. And Dad, if you know Dad, and those of you who don't know Dad, he will not be defeated. Okay, he does not know defeat. So we're going to find a way to preserve our food plots, keep them, from getting nipped off at the start, so they can mature and have a good yield. That was our goal.
Yes.
And then you take it from there.
Well, I didn't even know what Melagonite was. I'd never heard that name ever.
Okay.
And so
I don't know that that's true, what he's saying, but he's kind of getting himself off the hook.
well, I didn't, and that's my story, and I'm gonna stick with it. But I ordered some at Blaine. What was Blaine?
Burley.
Blaine Burley. He was working for Tecumate Food Plots at that time, Tecumate Seed. And Blaine Burley said, "Oh, man, you can't grow lab unless you keep the deer out. You either got to fence it, or I tell you a cheaper way to do it is with Melagonite." I said, "What is Melagonite?" He said, "It's a deterrent." He said, "You just spread it on your fields and the deer won't eat it." Well, I don't have a closed cab tractor. All my tractors are open cab. So I told Billy, I said, "We got to spread this Melagonite." And so he's on an open cab tractor in the wind, and he's spreading Melagonite. Well, he comes
Look,
back, and all you can see is his teeth.
teeth and eyes.
Yeah, you see his eyes and his teeth. He's covered.
I mean, I am literally as dark brown as you can get.
He's got a white T-shirt on. And he said, Dad, this stuff smells like poop.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah. I'm cleaning it up just a little bit. And that's what it is.
It's human feces that's pelletized, and I guess it's extruded or cooked or something. But at the end of the day, it is poop.
He was covered, and man, he was so mad.
It was a dust in the air, and I would go just pass on the tractor, and I'd go through that cloud of dust,
man.
and I'm like, man, this stuff is awful. What is this? Deer, it'll keep people out. It'll keep everything away from here.
Oh my goodness, it was so bad. And so we found out what it was. And
He couldn't wait to tell me. He couldn't wait to tell me what it was.
Oh, we got it done. Good job, Billy.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
We got it done.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
we
hey,
did.
I was taking the tractor and loading the bin.
Right.
All you was doing was driving the tractor.
Yeah, you were laughing behind the cab.
It was pretty awful, man. He got sucked into that one. But that was a good time.
Yeah.
Those are the things that made it all
learned.
fun. Yeah.
We did. We've had some good times, comical moments, but we had a great food plot that year.
Yeah, you did a good job. Hey, I got it. I got that same old tractor. I really.
Nah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I need
Nah,
some
wouldn't even worry
spread.
about it. Yeah, you're not fooling me twice on that one.
Good times. Remember that first turkey you ever killed? I told you, I said, shoot, 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 shoot. You finally let it get back here to the mic before you shot him. What was the deal with that?
I was just overwhelmed, man. You know, you think, how old was I? 9 years old?
8 or 9. I think you might have been 8.
8 or 9 years old. And to see a wild turkey doing his thing in the woods, you know, up close and personal, that's a lot to take in. I mean, no pop-up blinds. I'm sitting in Dad's lap. You know, there's no blind, there's nothing. We're just sitting still. I mean, that's the way he taught us to hunt. And it's just sit your hiney still and don't move. And you know, I was scared to move, but I even if I wanted to, I don't think I could. I was just overtaken with, like, you know, the adrenaline from it all.
Man, it was very special. We had a lot of great hunts and a lot of great times together, and that was the highlights. And most of those memories are here on the farm. I bought this farm when you were like 7 years old. The initial part of the farm. We've added.
What year was
as
it?
neighbors. That was 84.
Yeah.
How old were you in 84?
That's about right. You're close. Yeah. About 7 years old.
Yeah. So, and it was 85 when you shot that first turkey.
Yeah, we were hunting at your lease
Franco Hill's place.
before Dad bought
Yes,
this farm.
yeah.
So my earliest memories were down there off of 49 on that track Dad had leased from Franco Hill, and then we came here, and it was special. It was really neat, you know. I mean, growing up here, hearing Dad talk about land and the lease and going down and doing this and that, and then he got his own farm. That was a big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal, yeah. And we've added to it over the years, and it's still the core. The center of the farm is still where all the memories are, and it's still my special place.
Yeah.
It's where we grew up.
It is, to me, it's the most special place on earth. There's nothing else like it. And the hard part, as I've become older and think, you know, in my young mind, like, I'm going to have a farm like Dad one day. You know, that's a hard thing to achieve. It's tough. And in today's world, too, it's even tougher. But, you know, when you take a tract of land that lays like this, it's so gorgeous. It's the prettiest, most diverse land. Nothing compares. I've been on all kind of farms. You know, we started telling you, you know, that I'm a land broker. I'm on new dirt every day, but this place is one of a kind.
Yeah, we all feel that way, and a lot of people would walk and say, man, look at all these gullies. This thing ain't much, you know, some dry land, half sand, you know. So, but it's special to us because of all the memories and the times we had together. And I think little boys ought to have a place to go, and I don't care if it's 1 acre or 100 acres. They need to go squirrel hunting. I think they need to go to the pond. I think they need to go to the creek. And I think they need to be able to fish and hunt and get dirty. get dirty. You know, when my grandson Alec came on the scene, his mom, oh my goodness, he's got a match. I would dress him and they'd say, oh my goodness, he can't go outside looking like that. I said, man, every time I get to be the babysitter, man, we'd wear unmatching clothes and we'd go get dirty. And he loved it. I think little boys need to get dirty.
And he's had some good times on this farm.
Oh, yeah.
Turkeys and deer and just doing man things, you know. It was good for him, and he's a good kid, and I guess he's not much of a kid anymore. He's a young man that's married.
I look up to him.
Telling you.
Yeah.
It's wild to think it's gone that fast, but yeah, it is neat to see that. And you're right, kids need a place to play and get dirty.
Yeah, we got Evie and Bo coming. Evie and Bo are Billy's little boy and a little girl and little boy, and they got squirrel dogs. How many dogs you got?
Just 2 dogs, JW and Mabel. We like to squirrel hunt.
Yeah.
They're not squirrel dogs per se, but we've made them that way.
They're pretty good, I'm going to tell you.
They're black-mouthed cur, which are mostly known for bear and hog dogs, but we don't have bear and hogs where I live, so we hunt bushy tails.
Well, I can't wait. You know, it's how old's Bo now, 2?
He's a little over 2.
And Evie is
She's
5.
a little over 4.
Almost.
They're 2 years and 29 days apart.
Okay, all right. So
yeah.
we got to be more patient. I'm waiting. Hurry up. We got to get them down here and get them out in the woods.
They need it.
Oh, yeah. It's good for them.
They need to tear up something that I don't own, so they can come down here and let them live. Because everything I have is destroyed. I love
Well, they've rearranged your house.
Yeah, they have. They're good, man. They're, you know, it's funny. Hank's got 5 kids, and we talk about that. And he's like, "Oh no, it doesn't get easier." That's a lie. He said, "But it gets better, but it doesn't get easier."
So it absolutely, you know. And I told somebody just the other day while we were doing the podcast, actually, that it's a lie about this. What comes around goes around.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting on one of them checks to come back through the mail. You know, they all go out, but they never come back in. And you keep telling me one day you're going to send me a big one.
I must have the wrong address because I have put that check in the mail.
Well, I've yet to receive one, so when we leave
I bet
today,
it's between the seats.
You can just leave one right here.
I bet it's between, you know that.
We'll avoid that. Just cancel it out and leave me a fresh one.
Certified, you can't cancel. You'll have to wait until you find it.
So, all right, now you got it going on. You're selling dirt. What else? What's your favorite pastime now? You got into fishing a lot.
I love to fish. I've always loved to fish, but you know, growing up and stuff, you were just always fishing, and we had a good time when you'd take us fishing. But there was something special about hunting, you know, growing up, and I think it's kind of reversed for me now. I just love to fish. I love to hunt and fish, but if I had my choosings and I could only have one, it'd be fishing. Yeah. And I love to fish rivers. I don't know what it is about river fishing. You know, we grew up on Lake Norman in that area, and still live in that area, and I fish Lake Norman, I fish Hickory and High Rock, and those are fun times. I enjoy it. But there's something about getting on a river and just floating and fishing.
Yeah, I know you got a little crawdad and you go up to the New River and fish, catch those smallmouth.
Oh, man, I just love it.
We had the privilege of doing that, 4 years ago, and he caught a muskie. He caught a muskie on 6-pound tiff line, and that muskie actually chipped my tooth.
Oh, I got pictures of it.
That thing, we could not get it in the boat. It was like,
well, let's tell the story.
It was probably this long, literally.
We're bass fishing for smallmouth bass, floating the river.
Line, 6-pound line.
6 pound. Probably got a couple rods, and I get hung, and I can't get freed up because there's a lot of rock, right? So I'm on fishing the Ned rig, thinking I'm hung, and all of a sudden I hear my drag take off, and I'm like, wow. And all I remember is Dad saying, "Son, don't lose that fish." And I'm like, well, you know, say something.
Don't jinx me, Dad. Don't jinx me.
And so we fought this fish for 45 minutes.
That thing jumped. He literally jumped 5 feet out of the water, and it's this long.
Yeah.
Or maybe longer.
It was rather large, muskie. And 45 minutes, and he tired out. We got him to the boat, and he'd take off. Get it to the boat, and he'd take off. Well, I got him to the boat 3rd, 4th time, you know, and I heard Dad, kabloosh.
There was no way to get the fish in the boat.
Right.
We had no net big enough to get this fish in the net, so there was no way to get in. So I had to jump in the river.
Dad jumped in the river.
And I cradled that thing, and it was so strong when I got up, it popped me
It popped. And it's funny, I have a picture, and it's like a millisecond after it hits you. You can see your jaw still kind of out of whack, and you got a little blood right there. And I'm like, wow.
It chipped my tooth. I had to go get my tooth fixed.
And I said, man, I hate that. He said, son, I don't hate it. I've never landed one of those fish. I enjoyed every second of it.
I can't believe it. His 6-pound line went between the teeth of that muskie.
It went right at the eye. Right, it wasn't in the eye, but it caught the fish. It foul hooked the fish, or he swung at it, or whatever you call it, and it caught him right under the eye, or right above the eye. If I remember right, of course, there's two sides to every story, but that's the way I remember it. Caught him right at the eye, and that's how we got him in there. Had he bit down on it, it never would have caught it.
They have teeth.
They have teeth, lots of them, sharp.
That's why when he got up to the boat, I told you, I said, lip him, Billy, lip him. And you wouldn't do it.
I just remember that noise, and I looked, and he's in the water right here, and he's got that fish, and I was just like, man, this is epic.
Yeah,
even in the
crazy.
moment, I realized.
That was out of all the fishing that I've done, and I've done quite a bit, that was probably about the wildest thing that to catch a fish in a swift river. We're in the new river, and we were on a straight stretch, and there were boats came from all around to watch this, because a lot of people saw this thing jump, and they thought, oh, my soul. Same thing I thought, look at that monster fish, that kid will never land it. So we had an audience by the time I dove in the water and got that fish up. We had quite an audience watching, and it took at least 40 minutes.
Oh,
so.
It was wild. My father-in-law was there with his buddy, Bobby, and they had a front row seat, and my father-in-law, Steve, he took a couple pictures, and he still talks about that.
Yeah, I still talk about it. That's pretty wild to catch a 6-pound test line. What
do you think that fish? It was 40+ inches.
Oh yeah. That fish was probably 35 pounds.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
those moments you just can't forget.
6-pound line in a river. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I've been back many times since and have not landed another one.
Yeah, have you hooked any more?
I have. They break you off in less than a minute.
Yeah,
your line's trash. Yeah,
it's pretty wild. You fish the new river, and it's shallow water, and it's rocks, and to think that, and we're catching not very big smallmouth. Occasionally they'll catch a 4-pounder or 5-pounder, but most of the time they're 1.5 to 2-pound smallmouth. That there's muskie in that water that'll weigh 40 pounds, 45 pounds. I mean, they've caught some monsters. It's crazy. It was a lot of fun, good time. So that's where you like to fish the best.
That's my thing. I love to float the rivers and fish for smallmouth. That's my favorite. I like all fishing, but that's my favorite.
We need to plan a trip to do that.
We do.
I don't know if that big Ranger Z5.
Oh, we'll get her in there. Don't you worry.
I don't know if it'd float on them 3 inches of rock.
No, it probably wouldn't, but we'll try it.
We don't want to scratch up Hank's new boat now. We get pretty serious about scratching up that new boat. All right, so now we've talked about your hobbies. You're selling dirt. Where do you sell all this dirt? Where's your territory now? Are you now? I understand this, so I want to clarify this. You have your own franchise with National Land and Realty.
Not a franchise. I just run an office. We call it the North Piedmont office.
The North Piedmont office. So that's not a franchise. What?
It's just it's a non-franchise. It's a brokerage. It's like one big team, I guess you could.
Do you have a designated territory?
I do for that office, and so we're above. We're just I could sit here and just name counties, but you might not recognize, but I'm right there on the northern end of North Carolina that meet Virginia. So I'm licensed in North Carolina and Virginia. So we go up 77. You got Yadkin, Surrey, Allegheny, all the way to Rockingham County.
So you got your broker's license in both North Carolina and Virginia?
That's right.
Did you cheat?
Did I cheat?
You had to take a test, Billy.
They're pretty strict about that.
Are they?
Yeah. They don't. There's no way to cheat. It's not like high school.
You know, my mom was a pretty strict disciplinarian, and both my sister and my brother were really academically inclined. And if they came home with a B at the end of the semester, she's probably going to give them a spanking. But
Right.
she knew with any effort whatsoever, they would have made an A. If I'd have came home with a B, she'd have beat me half to death because she knew good and well I cheated.
Yes, exactly.
There was no way, brother. So you guys got that pretty.
We got it honest.
Oh,
we
you
got it honest. You know.
You guys did all right though. You were all ahead of me, so that was pretty good. You taught me a lot. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, you've done well for yourself. I wouldn't make any complaints. So.
Well, it's all been by fate. You know, the Lord has protected me in my ignorance, and it's all been good. So we got a lot of future going on with these kids. We got to get more dirt sold. We got to do more fishing. Time gets away. That's been like 5 years since we went up there and you caught that big muskie. We hadn't been fishing but maybe twice since then.
Yeah.
Priorities are out of whack.
It's crazy. You know, a lot going on in our lives, your life too. But it's just, man, you really have to be intentional about. I can't say it. You have to be intentional about making things happen now.
Yeah.
You know, we're at that age. We get covered up with work and life and kids, and it's just you really have to be intentional about making this happen.
Yeah, and I'm not real good with that. I am not a very good planner. I kind of a spontaneous reactor more than a long-term planner, you know.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
it
Dad will
seems
call you and say, "Hey, buddy, you want to go fishing?" Yeah, absolutely. I want to go. Okay, meet me at the house at 5:30 in the morning. Well, I can't go. I can't do that. Well, you said you wanted to go. That's Dad's planning.
Yeah,
that's
kind of the way I rock. I didn't know till today I was going to be able to go tomorrow. So now that I know you want to go, yeah,
That's good.
All right, I'll see you at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, and that can be good. That's just hard.
Well, I gave you a 2-day notice on this podcast. That was pretty
Yeah,
good.
You did. I'm here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. It's good times to have you. And people ask me all the time, said, "All right, you boys that race NASCAR, Hank Jr. and Billy, what are they doing?" So you're selling dirt. We did the television show. For how many years did we do that?
Man, I don't know. We kind of were building on it in 05, if I remember right. We started the foundation of it in 05, and I think we finished 2019 on the air. I think, you know, we went all the way to like the first week of January 2020 or something like that. And that's kind of when we closed the books on it.
So about 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was some good times, man. We had a lot of fun. Television, you know, linear television, this was my 39th year with Outdoor Magazine. And, man, linear television is just kind of falling off of a cliff. I think the outdoor channel's down to like 15 million avails now from 40 mil. So it's amazing the decline. The Pursuit channel's hanging in there pretty good, and that's where we're airing. And we get pretty good numbers on the Pursuit channel, but nothing like the old days, the old TNN days. And when we were on the Outdoor channel when we first started, and we did that show on ESPN, Hunt Like a Parker. You remember that?
Yeah.
Man, we had giant numbers. All of that has changed dramatically. And when you told me, you said, "Dad, if it doesn't hurt your feelings, I think I'm going to concentrate my efforts in real estate and walk away from this television deal."
Yeah.
And that was
the writing was on the wall. It was a machine that we were having to feed too hard, and we had a good time. We had a good run, and life's a moving target. You've got to move with it. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
You know, and so at that time, you know, I had my girl. I brought her home from the hospital, Evie, and everything changed at that point. You know, I love being, you know, I'm still ignorant to a point, but young and dumb, you know, when you're like, "Oh, nothing's going to change, and everybody looks at you like, "Oh, everything's going to change," and everything did change.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt about it.
For the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, that was just that was an additional thing that I was like, yeah, it's time to make a move.
You know, I cannot imagine my life without you guys, without my children. I cannot imagine what life would be like without my kids and now my grandkids. And I'm at that age where the relationship is just so important. And it's what I feed off of. It's what motivates me. You know, the most important thing in my life, without any question, no compromise, is my personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is the foundation for everything that I do, everything that I am. And that is all ties you right back to family and how important we need each other. We need a bond. We need to feed off of each other and support each other. And I think that is a principle that goes back to the Bible and how important prioritizing your family and doing things together and having each other. I told Billy the other night, a lot of parents will put their kids under a guilt trip for not bringing their grandchildren to see them. I hate that. I've been through that somewhat in my life, and I hate that, man. I love you just as much as I do if you were coming every day.
Yeah.
There's so much going on, and I never want to put pressure on my kids to the point that they have to come and see me and bring their grandkids, or they know I'm going to be upset with them.
Right.
That's not what I ever want to do.
It's a treat when it happens. It's a real treat.
Yeah.
And that's the way we want to keep it.
I like that word, treat.
Yeah.
Trick or treat.
That's right. They love Pawpaw and Mama.
Yeah.
And it's special. And you're right. You don't put pressure on us. And we just live far enough away. It's tough. It's tough. If kids are in a routine, it's tough. You put my daughter in the car, it's oh my goodness. It's hard.
That's a good thing. Terrible. She's out of the terrible twos and now in the terrible threes and the terrible fours.
She's good. She's just so energetic, and she's not one to sit still. I mean, she's in charge, and she likes to play hard.
Yeah, well, she pretty much gets that. You know,
we let her out. You know, we live on a little farm, 30 acres, and there's enough room to ride four-wheelers and have fun. And we got goats and chickens and all that stuff. And
goats, chickens. You had a horse and a cow.
Had some cows, and I just wasn't prepared. And my daughter Evie, she's not a spectator. She's going to be there with you when you're working on the farm and doing stuff. And we had too many close calls with the cows. I don't have the right corral. I don't have head gates. And I was like, man, I got thrown around a little bit. And she was close by, and I was like, we're going to sell the cows. So now we got goats. And they're a lot smaller and a lot less risk involved, And they're all having babies right now, so the kids are just loving that.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, they love it. So
that is cool, man. Mm-hmm. That is so cool. And I need to get up there and see you. I hadn't seen you since you got rid of your cows, but the right reasons for that, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough move because that's a good little money maker, little side hustle,
You've always liked making money. Billy was one of those guys that I think you held on to about every racing check you ever earned.
Yeah. Yeah, I like hanging on to money, but, you have to get past that when you have kids. You don't get to hang on to it anymore. You know the story better than most.
Yeah, I know all about that. I do. My wife, Martha doesn't spend any money on herself.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. She is such an awesome lady. But when it comes to grandkids, if she goes to the Stride Right store, you better hold on to that credit card, buddy. She's going to buy them grandbabies some shoes now.
Yeah.
They have got shoes. They're expensive, but they're worth it. That's what I like to say.
Yeah, when you see them smile, it's hard not to want to do for them.
Yeah, okay. So we fast forward. We went back to the time that you were just a kid, and we grew up hunting and fishing and traveling and doing things together. And then we started racing go-karts, and you got hooked on that go-kart racing. That led to late model cars, and then that led to the NASCAR Busch Series, and then the accident at Chicago, and then the accident in the vehicle, the private vehicle on the highway, took you out of racing, and that was a low point in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and you saw it.
Yeah.
You recognized it.
Firsthand.
And that was the dream we were after. And when you kind of see it crumble, it was a pretty hard blow. But you know, you got to get through it. You saw that, and you took me to New Mexico elk hunting, and it just, man, that really opened up my eyes. There's a lot more to life. It's good to be focused and determined and have goals, but if you're not careful, you're going to pass up a lot of other things. And you took me to New Mexico. We went elk hunting, and I had the time of my life. I still think about that. I mean, we spent, 8 or 9, maybe 10 days there, and it was incredible.
Elk were bugling and screaming, and we had close encounters, and I ended up killing one with a bow, and you were running camera for me.
That was another time.
That was the second trip. That's
That's
what
right.
I was thinking. Yeah,
The first time you took me, it was muzzleloader.
Yep. And
You let me take point on that, and that was fun. My first trip out west, really, to spend out out west in nature.
yeah,
And I've never experienced anything like that. And you were savvy. I mean, you'd been doing that for so long, and you knew everything. And it was just, wow. I had a personal guide. We had a guide, but I had Dad, and it was just incredible. I mean, it was to hear a elk bugle for your first time. It's pretty amazing.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
But you came through. I honestly thought you were going to be really depressed for a long time. As a matter of fact, I didn't know if you would ever get over.
Yeah.
You had worked so hard from the time you started racing go-karts, and you built
12
your
years
own
old.
cars.
Yeah.
Man, you built your own late model cars. You won races out of cars you built yourself, and you came up much harder because my plan was to get Hank Parker Jr. established and then bring you up off of his coattail because I was putting all the resources I had.
Yeah.
And so you really took the bull by the horns, and you kind of made your own way. And it was an incredible accomplishment, but it was such a dream. And then you went through all of that, and then all of a sudden you hit the wall, and Dr. Petty, the neurologist for NASCAR, said no more.
Yeah. Well, got hit by another vehicle on the street.
Yeah.
I never suffered an injury on the racetrack that kept me from racing.
But your head injury from your
Streetcar wreck.
streetcar wreck, Dr. Petty said no.
Yeah. He's like, you're not clear.
Yeah.
And I don't know when you will be, but you're not now, and you're probably not going to be the rest of this year. That's the words he said.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, they, without going into great details, they took a lot of whatever MRIs, X-rays, and you could see it. And I had some struggles,
Oh, yeah.
And Hank Jr. really helped me a lot because he was kind of overseeing me when we were in public and stuff, and I had some issues with my speech processing and things of that nature, and didn't know if it was going to come back, but
Well, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
with a fury.
Yeah, man. All that quick wit, it came back all right. But
It knocked me
recovered from
silly.
that.
It knocked me silly for a while, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martha says I'm silly anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, you came back from that rather quickly. And when we started interacting together, when we first started doing that television show, Hank Parker's 3D, you and I and Hank would all travel together.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all belittled me and had a lot of fun about
We made
pushing the
quite a bit of
buttons.
sport out of it. We did.
Pushing the buttons on the camera. We were trying to video each other and work with cameras, and that was out of my wheelhouse by about 2 miles. And I was never one afraid to push a button. So these cameras we had like 50 buttons on them, and I'd push everything. I'd have them so out of whack. Hank Jr. and Billy, you guys would go crazy trying to get the camera back straightened out. And then you got the ND filters on. You got.
I knew we were in trouble when Hank Jr. offered Dad the book to the camera to read it, and Dad said, "Those aren't directions, son. Those are suggestions, and I don't need those." That's how it went, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it was definitely. So we learned by trial and error, mostly error.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so much fun, man. We traveled together, we stayed together, we hunted together, and we'd load up from one state and go to another state.
Gone.
And
We were on the road. I know I was from mid-August to Christmas.
yeah, January we go to that Texas hunt.
We'd come home for a little bit on Christmas, and then we'd leave again. Yeah, but I'm literally gone the whole time from mid-August to just before Christmas.
People ask me all the time now and say, do you miss that hunting show? No. You can get too much banana pudding. I sat in a tree for probably 10 years every day of the month of November.
From dark to dark.
From dark to
And,
dark.
you hear a lot about people hunting, but you don't really, unless you know Dad, you don't know. He is the most determined person in the world, and he doesn't do anything halfway. It's all or nothing. And when he gets in the tree, you're going to be there all day. I remember getting camera guys with him, and sometimes we would hunt and stuff, but we would always hear guys come back and say, man, I didn't know we were going to sit all day. I was like, well, what'd you think you were going to do? I thought we were going to come eat lunch. And I was like, yeah, right. So you're hunting with Dad, buddy. You're not getting out of the tree till dark. So just tough it out. Pack a sandwich.
Well, I thought we was hunting. I didn't realize we came to picnic.
Right. Yeah.
Billy's favorite thing is I'm kind of a snack, sugar. I like sugar. I like candy. Billy's favorite thing is we'd be up there sitting in the tree. If he were running camera for me, he'd get some kind of little paper out and start rattling it. He knew right away I'd be looking up for him trying to find it. Of course, he wouldn't have any candy, or if he would not rattle the paper until after he ate every piece of it.
If you heard the paper, it was after the fact. But Dad can't, I can talk to him. I don't hear you, just ignore you. But it's amazing how you can hear that little frequency of a wrapping paper. But you can't hear my voice.
Yep, he rattled that little candy paper, buddy. I was ready. I was on point now. That was good times.
Yeah.
We got through all of that, and then the babies came along, and now you're selling dirt. And it won't be long. Time marches on, and it won't be long till you'll be down here every weekend with Evie and Bo, and we'll be fishing in the pond, or we'll be chasing squirrels, or we'll be chasing turkeys or deer.
Yeah, they're getting close.
I know. I like to take them before they're 10 for sure.
Oh, you will. It won't be long. Yeah, they're going to get an early start.
Yeah, I got redneck blinds now for when Lucy's little girls, Lily and Ellie, came along. It was time to get some enclosed blinds and soundproof. I got them all soundproof, and I had a lot of fun with those girls, and Hank Jr.'s girls, and now Cade and Boone. I mean, we got them going on.
You've run some kids through this place. Think about if you could compact every little story with a kid off this farm. I mean, it would be volumes. It would it's been great, man. It really has. You've done a good job being a granddad and being a dad.
We had a show. We did a show here with Caleb Cove. What was Caleb's little brother's name?
Oh man, that's funny you asked that.
I'll think of his name in a minute, but
he's hilarious.
Oh, it was the most fun time we ever had. We brought these guys down, and I asked Caleb's little brother. I said, "Now, what are you thinking about shooting?" And he said, "Well, what you got?"
How old is he at this point?
He's about 6.
Yeah, that's right.
He said, "Well, what you got?" And I said, "Well, we got a lot of doe." "No, I don't want no doe. I don't want no doe." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, they'll come out first." "No, I ain't worried about no doe." I said, "Well, we got a calico 6-pointer." He said, "What's a calico?" I said, "Well, he's black and white." He just got 6-point. I said, He said, "No." He said, "What else you got?" I said, "We got a small 8-point." And I said, "He's a pretty good 8-point. And he comes about every 2 or 3 days. We got him on trail." "Oh, that's what I want. I want that big 8-point. That's what I said, "Okay." So we go set up, and first deer comes out, just a little young doe. I said, there comes a little doe. You see her? I see her. I'm going to take her. I said, "I thought you didn't want it. I thought you didn't want a doe." He said, "That was then, and this is now." Pow!
Kids.
Oh, we laughed at that joker. He had such a good time. But hey, that was then, and this is now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Things change in a hurry.
Yeah, Caleb, I took him turkey hunting. Caleb Could. I took him turkey hunting when he was just a little guy, and he blew in the National Wild Turkey Calling Contest up in Nashville a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And
Yeah, you kind of brought him into that.
yeah, I kind of mentored some other kids,
Yep.
and that's kind of a neat thing. So I can't wait to mentor Evie and Bo.
I just hope they don't mentor you.
Yeah, that'll be good too. I like it. I'm ready.
She's
for some
got a
of that.
strong personality.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, hey, buddy, I enjoy visiting with you and catching up. And you might have a story you want to tell. I'll give you one opportunity, but you can't bash me.
Can't bash you.
No, you got to be kind to me.
Be kind. Man, you put a lot of restrictions on me.
Well, I got to kind of keep you in check, or you'll tell some wild story that I don't want
Right,
told.
right,
You know a lot of secrets get me in a lot of trouble.
I do.
Yeah,
I really do.
I know that. I know that.
So people talk about what's your earliest memory, your hunting experience, or things like that. And the one that really sticks out, and for me is, I think we were at the house. We grew up there on Lake Norman, and you liked to duck hunt. And you had a John boat. We had a dog. I don't remember which black lab that was. What do you think that would have been? Smokey?
It's probably Smokey, yeah.
And it was me and Hank Jr. and Ben and you and that little John boat, and it was freezing cold. And I remember looking back, Dad's got that tiller hand on. We're running, and he's dodging stumps or whatever, and his mustache is froze. I mean, he's got a short sleeve camo T-shirt on, and he's just grinding it out, man, going up the river. And I remember that, and the dog, that look on his face, just ready to hunt, and all of us just shivering cold and just ready for the hunt. And that's my earliest memory, really, that sticks out in my mind about going hunting with you. And then you fast forward years and years later, and it's 50 degrees, it's pretty nice outside, and 50 degrees, and we're going hunting, and Dad's got King of the Mountain and wool socks and knit hats and gloves and everything he had on at 45, 50 degrees. I was like, man, things have definitely changed here.
I got really cold in Canada one time. It was 30 below zero, and I was hunting in a tree, and I just froze out. And ever since that day, I was about 35 years old when that happened, maybe 36, and ever since that day, I get cold.
Got you cold to the bones.
I mean, I thought I was going to freeze to death, and I probably came pretty close to doing that. But ever since then, I get cold. So now it's 60 degrees, and I'm cold. It's crazy.
Things change.
Well, I'm glad that you came to join me.
Yep.
We're going to have a treat on our maybe upcoming podcast. I'm going to get Hank Jr. and Billy on at the same time, and those two can go at it, and they can probably tell you some stories that I might not want you to hear, but nevertheless, they'll get told, so they may be interesting, and we're excited about it, but I really do appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, man.
And maybe you won't bash me too bad when you get with Junior.
I'll just let him do all the bashing.
I like that. That's good.
I'll support him.
Tell everybody goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining in.
God bless you. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Go up there on that YouTube and hit subscribe. That's important to us. And join in on our next podcast coming up. God bless you. I'm Hank Parker.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number, and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.